Good morning, Chameleon Wranglers. Welcome to the Chameleon Academy podcast. My name is Bill Strand, and you are listening to the 9th season of this podcast. We have seen a lot over the course of these last 9 years. And today's podcast, I want to talk about some changes that are happening at an accelerated pace. These things have deep consequences for the chameleon community, and so it behooves us to be ready for them. The first thing that we need to be ready for is the onslaught of artificial intelligence, AI. With ChatGPT, we found a source where people could produce amazingly authoritative sounding text that we kind of knew was garbage, but you don't know it's garbage unless you're an expert. And so we started seeing these websites and even forum posts done by this artificial intelligence. I played around with it, and although I could tell what its shortcomings were, I was disturbed at how well it did. And I could see that it had already absorbed a lot of things that my website says. So chameleonacademy.com is being assimilated into this great brain, although it's assimilating all the garbage websites as well, because it can't tell the difference between quality. Now, I'm sure the engineers are working on an authoritative system just like the Google search engine does, and it's going to get better at determining what the right information is. Now, you may be saying, Bill, you've talked about AI before. In fact, you seem to talk about it a lot. Yes, well, something has changed. Just recently, we have Sora AI. And if you don't know what Sora is, that is a text-to-video artificial intelligence, which allows you to describe the scene that you want to make into video, and the AI creates the video. AI, and especially this latest development, have deep implications for those of us who are content creators. Before we had to worry about our work being stolen. I mean, I can go on YouTube and I can find videos that steal pictures from my website. I can see these AdSense and affiliate link websites that are embedding my videos into their website. But in those cases, it was a clear cut that my work was being stolen and used for someone else's purposes. I mean, there are some things that I can do, but the real danger is now this artificial intelligence, which goes through our entire website, our entire video library, and assimilates all of the information and creates something different. I mean, this is what artists generally do. You look at what's out there and you get inspired and you create your own thing. The difference is that artificial intelligence does not create anything. All it does is repackage the information that's out there, and it makes it sound authoritative. So, very soon you're going to start seeing videos that are completely generated by artificial intelligence. You know, this new Sora is going to be an incredible tool for people who want to create stories in video and don't have all the cameras. I mean, I'm going to love to play with that. But it's also going to be a tool used by people who have absolutely no experience in something, chameleons, for example, but they want to take advantage of the growing community. I mean, we already have this going on, so I know this is going to be used as soon as they can figure out how to do it. And so the question comes, what does it mean for you? For me as a content creator, I've got to deal with that. But for you as somebody who is consuming chameleon content or doing chameleon research, you're going to have to be extra careful as to what sources you use to learn from. I mean, we've already have this dynamic going on. Back when I started, there was just this very hard to find information. We just hoarded every scrap we got. And we developed skills in how to find more information, how to find contacts within the community so we could learn from people who have already done it. Nowadays, your skills have to be in sorting through all the information. And I got to tell you, even after decades of having the internet and this deluge of information, the community at large doesn't have a whole lot of critical thinking skills as to the sources that they get information from. And I hear this all the time. Wow, but I've done my research. Well, typing a search term into Google and taking the top 3 responses as your authorities is not research. We in the Chameleon community know a lot of the top results are going to be garbage. But I've seen people in the Chameleon community be so proud of their research, and they're citing Chameleon Academy, but then they cite 2 other sources. And I know those 2 other sources are from people who don't have chameleons. They just recycle stuff that they get on social media. And so this skill of being able to go to the source and figure out where is the source getting their information is a valuable tool, and it's going to become only more valuable as AI starts churning out content after content. If you can't find the author of that article, if you can't trace that author back and their experience in the Chameleon community, then you've got to be very careful as to how you accept that information. We have already seen a whole class of data gatherers, people who don't necessarily have experience in a certain animal, putting together care information for that animal. Now, when it's done intelligently, you are getting good information, but you need to be savvy enough to know that you are getting repackaged information. And you need to make the decision that I trust this repackaged information because I trust the person that repackaged it. That's fine. And if you've got those critical thinking skills where you've gone through that process, then you're going to be doing okay in this AI world. Because as of yet, as far as I know, they haven't manufactured sources out of nowhere that have complete backstories. But you're going to have to become more and more savvy as to what you're going to accept as authoritative in the coming, I was about to say years, in the coming days. I am sorry to say, but the train has already left the station. You already need these skills because it's happening right now. All right, so let's now talk about the changes that are ahead for the breeders of chameleons. You've worked really hard. You've got your breeding facility up. You're producing baby chameleons. And what do you run into? Well, many of us already know that there's a marketing challenge because Facebook, Instagram, and officially TikTok, they all say no animal sales. And so if they choose to enforce it, you could get your account kicked off. I don't know that TikTok has chosen to enforce it just yet, but I know that Meta, Instagram, and Facebook have been aggressive at this, and many people have just disappeared in the middle of the night. You can appeal, but good luck with that. Now, many breeders are doing very well on Facebook and Instagram, and this is because they have either not been found out or they've been tricky enough that the algorithm or this artificial intelligence that looks for all of this hasn't caught on to the, looking for new branches, looking to fly type code. But we've already known all about that. The change is now it looks like Shopify is getting in on becoming aggressive as far as kicking off people that sell live animals. I have heard this from people within the community. It is true that the terms of service say no live animal sales, but a lot of times we skate by because they don't really enforce it. Well, it pays for you to really check into the terms of services of any of these digital services that you use to see if they accept live animals as part of their service. And if they don't, if it's against the terms of services, then it's a ticking time bomb as to when they decide it's time to clean house. And we in the pet community are used to this by now. We are slowly being kicked off of here and kicked off of there and having to figure out how we're going to process payments, for example. And make no mistake, this isn't an accident. The animal rights people know how to cut the knees out of the pet industry, attacking the ability to market, attacking the ability to ship across state lines, attacking the ability to process digital payments. These are all the weaknesses of any industry, And the anti-pet people know this, and so that is why they are attacking these very strong pillars of commerce and our ability to create and grow our community. So if you are a breeder and you are on Shopify, know that there may be trouble ahead and start making plans to go somewhere else. Now, I sell cages, so theoretically I'm safe, but my wife, she is a Misty Mountain fan. She is a breeder of Eurypletus fantasticus, so she would be affected. Now, luckily, we didn't do the transfer like I was thinking about doing. We are currently on WordPress and using WooCommerce. Now, WordPress is a whole lot more complicated, and if I were to do it again, I'm not sure I want to go through the misery of learning WordPress. Every time something goes wrong, I spend an afternoon to a day trying to figure out which plugin is causing a disruption. So this is certainly not a, hey, let's all go to WordPress and WooCommerce. But it is a platform that is, at least at this point, friendly towards animal sales. As far as I know. You know what? Maybe I should look at the terms of services. I'm going to do that right now. Right now, in the middle of this podcast. Okay, I literally just checked, and at this point, I can't find that there's anything in the WooCommerce terms of services that prohibits us from using it to handle animal sales. We have to do this for every single payment processor, every single step in our business. From who our website is hosted with, from who our payment processor is, from all of our social media outlets. And if you were ever wondering if USARK was worth your investment, keep in mind how many freedoms we've already lost as far as being able to keep and have a business around reptiles. So we are under attack every single day. But as far as right here, right now, if you're a breeder of chameleons or any other reptile, now's a really good time to list all of the services that you use and go through and check their terms of services. Whether they are enforcing a ban on working with live animals or not, you need to know what could blow up in your face at any moment in the future. And right now, Shopify is on that list. And in other news for breeders, there is a growing awareness for quality of life for how you raise up baby chameleons. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I'm one of the loudest voices pushing this through. So yes, I am partially responsible for this happening. I am not the one creating this move, but I admit I am seriously giving wind under the wings. Taking the raising of baby chameleons seriously, from giving them individual cages to enrichment as babies, that is a strong component to where our husbandry needs to go. Now, I am also realistic that we can't do that overnight. And right now, we can't replace what breeders are doing with minimalistic care. There's a lot that goes into changing infrastructure. I know there are some breeders that are doing it. And so it's just a matter of time until the customer base, the entire market, grows to expect that. And in all honesty, yes, I will be pushing that forward as much as possible. But I will be supporting that we accept that during this transition period, that there is an acceptance that many of our breeders will have to be using the minimalistic care. There has to be a transition period. Now, one thing that you can do as a breeder to help with this transition period is that you have in the corner of your house, you have a cage set up that has the type of care that you would want your customers to use for their chameleons. You see, one of the difficult points in this transition is breeders insisting that their care is the highest form of husbandry, and so they try to take their minimalistic care and force that on their customers so they don't have to admit that they are giving less than ideal care to their chameleons. I mean, that's not good for business now, is it? But if you're doing this, you're doing your customers a disservice by burdening them with your desire to maintain this air of being an expert. You have become an expert in minimalistic care, but our husbandry exploration growth has bifurcated. There is the minimalistic care leg, but then there is the leg of the best naturalistic husbandry that gives enriched care to your chameleon, and that is going way beyond. The best thing you can do as a breeder is acknowledge that we have these two legs. Work on taking the minimalistic care that the breeders use, try to push it to more and more enriched naturalistic care, and acknowledge that your customers should be following the naturalistic, more enriched care for your chameleons that you sell them. And the way that you can help your customers and maintain that air of authority, even though you have the minimalistic care in back, is to have a cage or cages set up in your living room that have the latest in naturalistic care for your chameleons. So you have 3 of your favorite chameleons in 3 cages set up in ways that you would recommend your customers set up their chameleon. Don't burden your customers with minimalistic care because that's what you have to do as a breeder. Let's separate out the challenge of adding enrichment to the breeding situation from the quality of care that your chameleons are going to get when they go home with your customer. How fast we can change our standard breeding protocols is a complete problem on its own. We need to address it. It may take a while. We should give it that time because we cannot afford to lose our breeders. That's where our community growth comes from. So we've all got to work on it together, but don't burden your customers with minimalistic care just to prove that you're right. You can be right and maintain that air of authority if you just create a couple of cages that are the way that you would want your customers to set up their chameleon. And finally, I want to talk about the future of imported chameleons. Right now, it looks like Madagascar is pretty stable as far as being able to ship chameleons out. But it doesn't look, at least at this time, that there's any other country that's going to start exporting. Tanzania doesn't look like that's going to start exporting anytime soon. Cameroon, there may be some things in the works, which has nothing to do with the paperwork change that CITES just did. But I know there's some people working on breeding farms and such, and second generation, and maybe they can get some out. So Cameroon is not dead to us like Tanzania may be. Kenya will continue to export, at least for the time being. But other than that, I don't know of any other country that we're going to be getting chameleons out of. Madagascar is the main exporter of chameleons at this time. Now, there is so much on Madagascar that we could spend our lifetimes enjoying the variety of chameleons from Madagascar. Unfortunately, and I don't have any inside information, but having been there and looking at the forests burning, and we were looking at the erosion, the bleeding of the Madagascar into the ocean, we know that the environmental destruction keeps on going. So at some time in the future, we are going to see Madagascar close down. I don't think that any sort of genius to be able to say that. I don't know that anybody who has any connection to the situation would dispute me or think that I am just saying something that everybody else doesn't know. But I am saying it for the purposes of waking us up. We in the chameleon community, we end up getting complacent and we get used to things being available, and then we're surprised when they suddenly disappear. And you see this every time. I remember Miramontanus, the dwarf Jackson's chameleon from Tanzania. When it was available, yeah, everybody thought it was really cool. It's kind of fun. As soon as it was no longer available, all of a sudden people are willing to spend $700 for him. I understand the dynamics of something being rare and no longer available. But I would like to impress upon you that if you have a passion for a certain chameleon from Madagascar, if you are looking for a long-term project to actually do something that means something long-term in our community, consider focusing on one species. Learn that species, make that species available, and just one pair, okay? just one pair, until that there's enough of a market that people are wanting more than the babies produced from one pair. Don't produce more than that, or else that's what destroys so many breeding projects, is because they produce more babies than there's a market for. Make sure that your production does not outstrip the demand of the market. And a lot of that has to do, well, all of it has to do with awareness. You see what I'm doing with the shamrock chameleon, Kaluma o'Shaughnessy. I am starting breeding now with some pairs, and I won't have them available until next summer. But I've started now talking about them, putting them up on social media. Anybody who's watching my daily vlog is seeing spearmint and wintergreen. There's a pair of O'Shaughnessy that I have in the background and I feature often on my vlog. And so the public is starting to get an awareness and an appreciation for them. By the time I have babies available, there should be enough of a demand that I will be able to find homes for all those babies. The next step, of course, is to have enough of a market that the F1 breeders who bought my babies, and I intend to have more than one bloodline available, they breed them, and in 2 or 3 years after that, we're going to have enough of a market to take all of those babies. And that's the way we establish a species, and that is absolutely not an easy thing to do. But it all starts with you deciding you have a favorite chameleon and investing in it. The message is to invest in that chameleon species now while it is still available from Madagascar. My hope is that I will produce baby shamrock chameleons, Kaluma o'Shaughnessy, for the market, and then I bring in more wild caught, I acclimate them, I produce more bloodlines and get that into the market, and I do that for as long as I can to produce as much diversity in the community as possible for the inevitable time when they are cut off from exportation. And by that time, we have what we have. And there are a couple of species where we actually have a chance. Carpet chameleons, Parsons chameleons. And so, good for us. But it would be nice if there were more. The message is to be aware of what's coming up, whether it's AI, whether it's changes in community expectations, or a change in the import-export quotas. All of these things will affect us as chameleon keepers, breeders, and community members. So be aware of those things and prepare for them. Now, I'll give you a little bit of an update of what's going on with the Chameleon Academy. Most significantly is that I have started a daily vlog. If you go to YouTube, every day on the Chameleon Academy channel at 5 a.m. Pacific, you will find a daily vlog. And in this vlog, I talk about the chameleons that I'm working with, the projects that I'm working with, the content that I'm creating for the Chameleon Academy. It's essentially just a snapshot of the life of a chameleon content creator. And there's a live chat available for every episode when it first shows. And so if you'd like to start your day with a shot of chameleon goodness, then join me and a number of chameleon enthusiasts at 5 a.m. Pacific on the Chameleon Academy YouTube channel. And we all say hello to each other and talk about what's going on. It's a very nice way to start the day. And if you'd like to ask me a question or just hang out with the community, I have 3 live sessions a week. During these live sessions, you can ask questions or just talk with people who love chameleons as much as you do. These live sessions are Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, Saturday, 12 noon Pacific, and Sunday evening, 5 p.m. Pacific. You'll find a positive and healthy chameleon community there, and we could always use another chameleon enthusiast. And I have been working on designing a line of arboreal enclosures with custom reptile habitats. 2 models are available, the Arboreal XL and L, and other members of that line will be available soon. So if you're interested in a high-end chameleon enclosure that has an optional stand and shelves available for it, check out customreptilehabitats.com and look for the Chameleon Academy product line. The Arboreal XL is specifically designed for bioactive environments and has a forest floor viewing window. The Arboreal L gives you a deeper substrate so you can have more root room. Both of these are meant to facilitate our growing interest in bioactive and naturalistic enclosures. And also let you know that we've got a win-win-win. The biodude.com has a coupon code Chameleon10. And if you use that in the shopping cart, then you're going to get 10% off of most of the products at the Biodude. Some of the cages aren't included. But replacement UVB lights, misting systems, terra firma, bioactive soils, all of this, you get 10% off. And I am an affiliate, and so it also goes to support this show. And with that, I'm going to send you on your way. Thank you very much for joining me here. This is Bill Strand signing off, and I'll see you next time.